All right. I believe we're live on YouTube as well, and want to welcome everybody for joining our November monthly call. I'm sure people will continue to join, but we'll just get started. Let me see, control my slides. Quick reminder, as we do for all of our events, we, like all good communities, we have a community code of conduct. You can read the full text in the markdown file we have on our repository. That'll include our contact information if you need to get a hold of us. So that's a quick reminder there. Topics we have for today. A lot of the agenda topics will be pretty familiar with the community update and the product updates that we usually do. And then we're excited to have Luke, who made a great contribution to add a GraphQL endpoint. And Luke's going to talk about that in the middle portion of our meeting today. And I believe Luke has a quick demo as well. So we're excited to see. So moving right along, just a couple of quick community news, and this is all like events related. I mean, I guess 2-3 weeks ago, we had our second workshop on multi-tenancy. And then those of you who missed it, I mean, we covered like 4 major areas, like, what we mean by multi-tenancy in Cube.js, how you configure multi-tenancy in Cube. And Ryan, who will be providing us with product updates later today, he showed a few different use cases using our lab setup in Cube Cloud. So if you missed the workshop, I mean, the recording and the slides are available on the events page. Go take a look at it. You'll find the links and the slides there. One of the things that was really interesting about the event was that we had a lot of new attendees who weren't at the first pre-aggregations workshop back in August. So we had a lot of new audience, and there wasn't a whole lot of overlap between the 2 workshops, which I thought was interesting. We even did a poll, just a casual poll at the beginning of the workshop and asked how many people have attended the previous workshop, and the numbers were pretty low. So we were excited to see a lot of new audience members. I think the total number of people were definitely lower. I think we had close to 90 people for the pre-aggregations workshop. For this one, it was around low 40s, so the numbers were a lot smaller, but we had good engagements as well. So yeah, like I said, if you missed the workshop, I mean, go listen to our recording. We have timestamps for different agenda topics, so you don't have to necessarily sit through the whole 90-minute content in one swoop. It should be pretty easy to jump from agenda topic to another, one topic to another. Just wanted to share, we did a post-event survey, and out of about 41 or 42 people attended, 17 people responded, which is a pretty good response rate. So here are our scores. I mean, the leftmost one is the overall score. I mean, it's a little over 4. I mean, I was hoping for something closer to 4.5. So something we want to improve on in various aspects, like, announcements and registration process, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, those all seem to be pretty decent, including the demo and the hands-on workshop we did. I mean, there was a feedback, which I'll be sharing in a few minutes. I mean, there was some open-ended feedback about slides, and I think some of our slides were a bit dense and somewhat repetitive of what we have in our doc. So good feedback. We'll take that into the consideration for our next workshops. And in terms of length of the workshop, we shortened it from 2 hours to 1.5 hours, and it seemed like that we had less of a drop off, I think, for this one versus the other one, which is understandable. It's a lot more challenging to carve out 2 hours of your day. So I think 90 minutes, or between 60 to 90 minutes, might be the good sweet spot. The other thing we did a lot better this time around is with the Q&As. I think the volume of questions, first of all, were a little lower, but I think answering people's questions on the Q&A tab on the Zoom webinar. So I think we were able to disposition most of the questions as they came in. So we'll definitely try to do that again next time around. But I appreciate everyone's feedback. Like I said, like more than 30% of the people who attended, or actually it's more than 40% of the people who attended responded to our survey, which we're grateful for and definitely will help improve our future workshops. One of the other question was, what other topics would you like to see? So the top two, I mean, the clear like a leaders in terms of popular topics is advanced pre-aggregation use cases. Just confirming that pre-aggregation is definitely a popular topic. So we'll probably have, if you were to think about the first pre-aggregations workshop as more of a, pre-aggregations 101, maybe it's a pre-aggregations 201 type of workshop that we need to be thinking about. And Ryan and I and a few others are actually meeting sometime this week to talk about the next workshop. So we'll think through the topics, and not surprisingly, data modeling. I mean, this came about in the last workshop survey as well. Data modeling is another good topic. So we'll figure out how we want to move forward with future topics. But if you weren't able to attend the event and provide feedback, I mean, feel free to let us know on the Slack, one of the Slack channels. We have one for workshops on Slack, so just let us know if you have any other topics that you're interested in. So that's it for future topics, and some of the open-ended feedback I wanted to share. I mean, first one I already mentioned. Yeah, I think our slides became a little dense. Especially in the first 30 minutes. So that's something that we want to improve, especially when some of the topics are already well documented in our docs pages. So we'll make sure that doesn't happen again. The second one is interesting. I'm not sure how to approach this. I think it'll depend on the nature of the hands-on workshop that we want to do, because someone made a suggestion that put the instructions in GitHub versus Notion. I think for this last one that may have made sense, but I think in a markdown file, it's a little bit more challenging to put a graphics like you can in a Notion pages or web pages. So it's something that we'll think about. I mean, we had a lot of, you basically had to download an application from GitHub. So maybe for the multi-tenancy workshop, it made sense to put everything in GitHub, but something we'll think about in the future. And the third one, this particular individual was a little apologetic. I mean, they didn't need to be, but I think this just made me realize, some of the prerequisites or recommended readings, we probably want to lay that out well before the workshop, so people are have a chance to sort of read through some of the documentations or even blog posts that they can read through before coming to the workshop, so they don't have to sort of struggle through the content. But I mean, no need to be apologetic. I mean, this is something we need to do better. So again, I mean, thanks for everybody who were actively providing us with feedback on the workshop. And if you provide it with your address, you'll be receiving your Cube merchandise pretty soon. So if you don't get it in the next 3 or 4 weeks, just let me know. But they should be on your way. So what's next in terms of workshop? Like I said, Ryan, RTM, and a few of us are meeting actually tomorrow to talk about future workshops. So we'll announce the next topic and date soon. In addition to these hands-on workshop, we're also planning to do a session to discuss or present our long-range roadmap. And as many of you know, we publish our quarterly roadmaps that I think Ryan will reference later on. But we want to talk a little bit more about for our open source, for our open source software, what are our sort of long range plans, looking not just next quarter, but a year out. in 2022. So we'll plan a session. We haven't decided like what form this will take, but sometime in December. I mean, it's possible that we'll just do it in the monthly call next month. But this is something that we've been wanting to do because I mean, obviously you heard a lot about Cube Cloud recently, but we're still committed to having a robust roadmap for open source software. So we'll stay tuned for announcements next couple of weeks. So speaking of events, going from virtual to in-person, so we actually had a happy hour in San Francisco last week. It was a small group, but it's really nice to meet people that I've been talking to over Slack over the last like a year or so, and actually meet them in person. It was kind of surreal. I mean, it was nice warm evening here in San Francisco. We're able to, I mean, you can't quite see it in the photo, but we had a nice view of the bay. So it was nice to see each other in person, and I got a little emotional because this was my first in-person event, like a work event that I've had since the pandemic. So it was getting a little sense of normalcy was kind of nice. Like we wanted to do it outdoors, so that we're safe from COVID. So that happened last week, and thank everybody who showed up. And hopefully we'll do this again soon. It was really nice to meet each other in person. And there's also a happy hour. I mean, if you happen to live near London, I mean, Sam, you live near London, I believe. We have a happy hour event on the 24th at 5 p.m. Again, it's going to be an outdoor venue. We want to be, COVID safe, and it's a place called the World's End. And if you haven't registered, you can go to the Eventbrite page. I mean, it's probably not easy to write this link down, but I made announcements on Slack, and also we have a social post on Twitter. If you can't find it, just ping me, and happy to send you the links to register at Eventbrite. I mean, you can ping me or Hassan, and hopefully you'll have a chance to meet with Hassan and other community members in London. So that's sort of the upcoming event in London. And I was hoping to have, like, let me post this on chat. I wasn't able to put this in the slides. Like, we had an event last week called OSACon, and I created a post here on Slack that you can see on chat. So there were OSACon. It was a great a conference to discuss all things like open source analytics, and including myself. There are three of us representing the Cube community. We like the three of us had like a sessions from me, Pavel, and Tanvi from Coda Healthcare. So I was hoping to get the recordings on YouTube. Like, I haven't checked with the organizers to see if they've been posted yet, but I'll make an announcement on Slack if you weren't able to register for the event or attend the talks. Like, you'll be able to see it. So hopefully I'll be able to make that announcement pretty soon. So those are it for events, I believe. Not sure if people have any questions. Let me move on, and we'll talk about GraphQL endpoint. And before I turn things over to Luke, I mean, first of all, thank you, Luke, this is like a GraphQL support has been a topic of discussion. I mean, ever since I joined the community a little over a year ago. And like, I think there were a couple of discussions on the forum, on Discourse, and also a couple of issues, or at least one issue that I remember on GitHub, and we were never able to really get to a consensus. But I mean, Luke, I think you found a way to make this work in your environment. So really appreciate the issue. And I encourage you to take a look at the PR when you have a chance. So it's got a lot of detail on description, like how it works, examples. And I was just talking about this with Luke. I think this is pretty close to being merged. So, if you want to look at the details, I mean, go take a look at the PR at your leisure. And again, like, appreciate what you've done, Luke, and I'll turn things over to you, and I'll just advance the slide. And I know you want to do a demo as well, but you probably want to go over this really quick. So.
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
Thanks, Fred. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm Luc Vauvilliers. I'm CTO and co-founder at Gatsby. And we at Gatsby, we are building a new generation of advertising platform, which is dedicated for the gaming industry. So, for example, we work on new formats which display ads directly within the 3D environment of the games. So it don't break the gameplay, and it's better for the brands. And as an ad tech platform, we deal with billions of events every day. And of course, we pick Cube.js to build our analytics API. But we were facing a problem because our actual backend APIs were built with GraphQL, and we heavily rely on GraphQL for example, to build automatically using code generators all our front-end clients. So we needed to access Cube.js API through a GraphQL API. So we started to build our own GraphQL API, and it acted like a kind of proxy. So when you requested the GraphQL API, we will recall on the back the REST API of Cube.js. And this design worked pretty well. And when I talked with Ray about this solution, he suggests to open an issue and GitHub to describe how we have done this. So I started to open the first issue, and a couple of weeks after, I directly started a pull request for an official integration with the Cube.js code base. So how it works, on the schema, you have on the right, on red, you have the path of regular query. So using the REST endpoint. So when you make a Cube.js query, it first goes to the API gateway, and the root Cube.js-API/v1/load is used, and then your query pass through the adapter API, and then is executed. The adapter API step is really important because it's where, for example, you will have the query rewrite stuff. So if you want to add security, all the security stuff will be applied here. So when I started to integrate the GraphQL endpoint, I choose just to add a new endpoint to the API gateway. So now we have Cube.js-API/GraphQL, and it's here. The whole GraphQL schema is automatically generated using your Cube definition. So at init, we take all the Cube definition, and using the compiler API, all the GraphQL API will be automatically generated. So you will have access to all your Cube. So when you query the GraphQL endpoint, all the query will be resolved using the first node. So we use the query abstract syntax tree to walk to all the children nodes, and we will rebuild the same payload as you use in the regular REST API. So it acts as a kind of API proxy. So you query the GraphQL endpoint, and the resolver rebuild the same payload of the REST API. So in step 5, we load results using the same adapter API. So all your security stuff is shared between the two endpoints. And then we will get the results and we will reshape the results to fit perfectly the GraphQL request. So it's a really simple design and it works pretty well. So I think it will be evolve well with the next Cube.js release. So if I can share my screen, I have a demo.
Yeah, give me a second here. I'll stop sharing. There you go.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so here I have a sample project. This project comes from the ecom demo from the Cube.js sample, so you can have it if you want. So here I have some schema here. So I have a line item, an order cube, product categories, products, supplier, and users. So I just start the Cube.js project. And when I go to this URL, I have the graphical UI. And here I can see that all the GraphQL entities are automatically generated. So I have my line item here, orders, product category, product supplier, and users. So all is automatically generated. And for example, if I want to query something, I have to call load. I want, for example, the orders. So here you can see you will benefit to all the auto completion. And I want to count the order by status, for example. And I hit play and I get the results. For example, if I want to add a filter, so here I can browse how it works. So here I can add global filters at the load level, but I can also add filters at the cube level. So I also have a where clause here. So I will use the where clause here. So where. And here I have also auto completion. So for example, if I just if I want filter to only status equal completed, so I will add status equals completed. And if I hit play, I can see that the results are properly filtered. If I come back to the code, I can see here that here this is the regular REST payload that is automatically generated. So when I use the GraphQL API, it will generate this payload and run it through the regular REST API. That's it. So the status of the pair, I think it's nearly done. I think it will be merged soon. So if you have any feedbacks or if you have other idea how to improve this first iteration, feel free to add comments on the peer discussion.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks very much. And then I don't know if you mentioned this, like you've been doing like using this at your company for a while, right? I mean, at least I think it's been like a few months at least, but
yes,
yeah.
we developed the first iteration 1 year ago.
Oh wow! So
So
it's been more than a few months.
we used a GraphQL endpoint since 1 year in production. But this PR is not exactly what we use in production, because we add other stuff and we needed to fit at 100% all the features of the REST API. So for all needs, we added some shortcuts, and all the API wasn't auto-generated, and now in this PR it's completely auto-generated based on the Cube definition. So it's not what we use in production, but in the principle it's exactly the same.
Right. Cool. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, one of the like a person at the happy hour last week. I mean, he
and we're still, while we've merged a major PR for the Kafka integration, we're still working on that as well for supporting real-time roll-ups from streams. And then we're also making progress on the roll-up joins. I think I saw we just completed a massive 10-point story for join indexes. 10 points is pretty much the gnarliest level of sprint story for us. So I think we're making significant progress there. So that's a recap of kind of where we are on the roadmap for Q4. Go back to the slides. And I just wanted to as well discuss the KSQL integration a bit more. I think I mentioned before that we are sort of adopting a Lambda architecture here. And this is meant to present a bit of a clearer picture for what that means. So according to Wikipedia, if you trust it, Lambda was first introduced as a way to, quote, how to beat the CAP theorem, quote, end quote. So what's done here is we now have both this batching and streaming layers for Cube. The batching layer is intended for the larger data sets that are less dynamic. So it's great for data warehouses where we can load the data in batches and build, say, roll-up pre-aggregations in Cube Store. But now with this streaming layer at the bottom here, we are able to subscribe to this stream of data, say a Kafka topic, and load data from there into Cube Store as well. So KSQL is just the interface that we're using to read this data from Kafka. And so then whenever you're querying the Cube API, we can fetch a union of these data sets from Cube Store. So this is really exciting because we know streaming data is becoming ever more popular in our ever more real-time world. So it's exciting to see Cube tackle this scenario in a very elegant way. So yeah, that's pretty much this is an overview of how we're architecting this. And with that, I'll hit.
Cool. Yeah, I just want to quickly jump in. I mean, thanks,
yeah.
Ryan. And I think, Luke, this is something that we talked about as well, like supporting streaming data. Not sure if you wanted to see if you have any questions or feedback, but. Oh, Luke, can you hear me? Look, it sounds like it. Hey, I'm not sure if you heard my. Yeah. No, sorry. I mean, sorry. Like, I don't know if you heard my question. I think this, like, a streaming data support is something we talked about a few months ago as well. So, not sure if you had any questions or feedback for Ryan, but
No,
Okay.
I haven't any question.
All right, cool. Thanks. All right. Well, sorry for the interruptions, Ryan and Max. I think, Max, you have a quick demo that you want to share.
Yeah, and I'll stop sharing.
All right.
Let me turn on my screen. Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Maxim. I'm on the cloud team here at Cube, and I'm working on the kubesql integration into Cube Cloud. And this is my first time on the community call. I just heard that someone already demoed kubesql and how it works with Apache Superset. Probably my demo won't add too much new information. And I'm just going to show you how it can work with Python Jupyter notebooks. So what I have here is some test deployment in our Cube Cloud account with our data set that we often use for demos. It's just super basic e-commerce data set. And now in my terminal, I'm using a development version of the kubesql connector. And for me, it's a standalone binary, which I'm going to compile and connect to this Cube Cloud instance. But in the final version, it will be built into Cube.js itself, and no separate binaries would need to be compiled. You'll just give your Cube.js instance this extra env variable, telling it where to expose the MySQL port, and that would be all the authentication will be defined in the kube config itself. And that's actually still work in progress. That's what we're waiting more on until it's completed, and then we're going to release kubesql. So I'm going to start kubesql here. You can see it listens on 30 through 10, and I can connect to it using regular MySQL client. And again, the alt part is not ready yet, so I'm just using some dummy data. It will allow any password at this moment. And as you can see, it connected. I can select star from line orders, from users, for example. You can see here that it transformed my SQL query into Cube query, sent it to our remote deployment, and gave me back the table with users. And it exposes a MySQL port and and kind of understands standard MySQL protocol. And that means that you can connect to it from anything that can speak MySQL, which includes Python MySQL client. And in this case, I'm using SQL Alchemy, which internally uses Python MySQL client. And this is how you can connect to your local kubesql, fetch some data, put it into the pandas data frame, and then use it for further data analytics processing or whatever. I just ran the first cell, and now connected and read the data. Now I can print the data, and then I can do whatever I like with that data. I can plot it, or I can join it with some other data fetched from any other sources. Basically, do my regular data science, but fetch data from Cube.js or from Cube, and take the benefit of all the pre-aggregation and Cube Store serving pre-aggregated data instantaneously. All right, that was all for my demo. Not sure how much new information I added, but that was all I had.
That's cool.
That was useful.
I appreciate it. All right, so yeah, I think that's probably like end of everything we wanted to present, but just wanted to see if there are any questions or comments that people want to add. Cool. I guess not. Like, thanks everyone for joining, and thank you, Max and Luke, for leading your demos and discussions. And we'll do this again in about a month. So hopefully you'll all have a good day or evening. All right. Thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone.
Oh,